Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, back with some boxing slash MMA talk here. Somebody asked me about this. They want to know my thoughts on this situation. So, as y'all know, Kamaru Usman, a few days ago, like before the fight, Kamaru Usman, he was feeling ballsy and he decided to say that, he wanted to fight Canelo Alvarez in a boxing match. He said that's a fight he wants. He wants to do it because, he wants to do something daring and scary, right? And Dana White, of course, he was asked about this fight after Kamaru Usman's performance against Colby Covington at the post press fight conference, and Dana White basically said, no, he saw that fight and he was actually watching that fight during during the UFC event, and he basically said that that's some action that Kamaru Usman does not want. He's like, no, he might as well forget that ish. He said, because that's a fight he doesn't want, and he said Canelo wants to come to MMA. Okay, that's a different story, but he doesn't really want that action. And my thoughts on that's the same exact thing I was saying. My thoughts on that whole situation. Kamaru Usman, his boxing and what he think he's doing for, as far as in MMA, it's great. His striking, his execution of the jab is a beautiful thing for that sport. Every time when I see the jab thrown and executed in a beautiful way in MMA, I take my hat off to these fighters. I love it. I love how they can use a good jab. But the jab in MMA is similar to the jab in boxing. But when you're talking about the jab in boxing and head movement and all these other certain type of movements that boxers make, that's just a whole different thing. I just want to see these MMA fighters execute a good jab, because the jab is a solid weapon. It's a solid weapon, gets you so many things that you need. But for Kamaru Usman, what he's been able to do with it from southpaw to orthodox stance and just break down opponents off of it with his jab is beautiful, right? But that jab cannot compare to some of these boxers' jab in the game. Like, his jab is top level in MMA, but it can't compare to a Errol Spence jab. It can't compare to a Terrence Crawford jab. MMA fans, if you don't know those guys, look them up. Watch them. I recommend highly. His jab does not compare to these guys, So what he's doing in MMA is very effective, because boxing is still alien to a lot of these MMA fighters. And if you can put in some fundamentals of boxing into an MMA style, it works for you. Like Rose Namajunas, she definitely looks really good with her boxing, and she could definitely probably compete in the world of women's boxing, but it's enough to execute and make these fighters look bad in the world of MMA. But it could actually be competitive. She goes and fights somebody like Katie Taylor. Somebody like Katie Taylor, she might have might give her fits, right? If she actually goes in there and fights somebody on that level. So for somebody like Kamaru Usman to say he's going to fight Canelo, I haven't even got to Canelo yet, what he would do. But first of all, let me talk about Canelo this past weekend. So everybody's been saying Caleb Plant, had to fight, had his moments and he was giving Canelo problems. All right, so I feel like early on Caleb Plant had his moments in that fight, and there was a time when I had it tied, and then I had Caleb up around, but it wasn't like Caleb Plant was dismantling or really frustrating Canelo. Canelo was willing to lose rounds because Canelo was winning the war. Like, Caleb Plant was winning these little battles, but Caleb Plant was losing the war. All right, Canelo, he knows what he's doing. Canelo is consistent. He can continue to come forward, and he breaks you down. Canelo breaks you down. All right, Canelo's the type of guy that's going to hit your arms, hit your body, hit the back, hit you by the kidney, hit you the arms, hit your shoulders. He's going to push you back, and he's going to work his he's going to work the body. He's going to work the body, and he's going to hit you anywhere he can hit you, up by the shoulders, until you feel his power, until there's a point where your will is broken. And that's what he did to Caleb Plant throughout the fight. Caleb was touching Canelo and winning some rounds, but he was never getting the respect to Canelo. So if a top level boxer, a champion in super middleweight division like Caleb Plant, couldn't use his footwork, couldn't use his jab, couldn't get the respect of Kamaru Usman, has defense, how do you think Kamaru Usman is going to do against Canelo? Okay, that's the question. Kamaru Usman has no head movement at all, basically. Like, Colby Covington almost put him down a couple times in this fight. Like, Colby just didn't have the power, but Colby was like tagging him in the southpaw stance with those left hooks and straight left hands. Like, Kamaru Usman got buzzed a few times. Like, he just has a good chin, or I say Kobe Covington. It's a mixture of both. Usman has a good chin. Kobe Covington, just didn't have the pop. Like, there was times whenever he did kind of rattle him a little bit, right? But he survived. But if you go in there with somebody like Canelo Alvarez, who has the best upper body movement right now in boxing, is pound for pound best, puts the combinations together. Usman, do you really think you can survive that fight? Like, do you really think you survive that fight? Like, defense alone, like, you don't have enough head movement, any slickness where Canelo's he's not gonna go around without battering you at least with two, three punch combinations. You know what I mean? So that's something that Kamaru Usman, he's gonna want to have to think about. Like, he's gonna have to really fall in love and study the fundamentals of boxing like Anderson Silva did. Anderson Silva, I think he would outbox Usman in a boxing match. Anderson Silva gets boxing. Like, Anderson Silva's been doing this thing forever. And there was a time when he could have boxed Roy Jones Jr. Like, I still would have picked Roy, but there was a time where he felt confident in his style where it could have went against Roy. And you could see that because of his footwork and his punch placement and his IQ. Kamaru Usman, he's still a bit of a come forward fighter here. And like I said, lack of head movement. The thing that saves him is his offense. Like, his offense is his best defense. But when you go into boxing, you have to have some type of offense against Canelo Alvarez. I mean, some type of defense against Canelo Alvarez that's going to get his respect. You got to be slick, and you got to be able to keep Canelo honest. And I don't think Kamaru Usman has that type of he doesn't have that type of defense to keep Canelo honest or frustrated. Like, the minute Canelo knows he can hit you, he's going to go after you. Yeah, you might could rock Canelo a little bit with your punches, but are you going to get that off if Canelo's getting off on you first and he's the much better boxer here, right? So pound for pound best in the UFC can no way go against the pound for pound best in boxing. And Canelo can't go to the world of MMA, right? So let's be real. If Kamaru Usman wants that type of action, he's going to have to go take some real boxing matches. Don't make this a sideshow, because you go in there and fight Canelo, you might wind up with a concussion like Conor McGregor did against Floyd Mayweather. Real talk, right? So yeah, man, let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. Final thoughts. Canelo, he beat the brakes off of Kamaru Usman in boxing. I'm just being real. I love Kamaru Usman for the world of MMA, but this is boxing, man. This is my first love, and I know what he can do. His combinations would be deadly with no head movement. Kamaru Usman, he would get rocked round after round. He would get broken down. He doesn't have the footwork, like I said, or the tech savvy to get away from Canelo's relentless pressure and body attack. So let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.